नमस्कार। गुरुजी को प्रणाम और गुरु माँ को प्रणाम। आपको गुरुजी आपके जन्मदिन पर हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं हैं। I am Kulwant here. I have had a long association. 10 plus years of my career have been in the organizations promoted and headed by Guruji, during which I have gained rich experience under his dynamic leadership. Next to my parents, I must say, he has been a source of great inspiration and motivation to me. Perhaps not just to me, but to many more within and outside the organization. And I feel privileged to have him as my guide and mentor. I recall within a few days of my joining his company, I felt at ease working with him. It was a very healthy environment. There was clarity in the responsibilities he delegated, the instructions he imparted, and the freedom which he gave us to carry out our own responsibilities and duties were very satisfying. I knew I was in the right organization because each employee wants a very good environment to work in. That's, I think, the topmost priority of anyone looking out to work. And moreover, he did not confine us to only the specific areas of our assignments. If there was competency, he motivated you to handle higher responsibilities. He was always a calm and composed personality, as you see him today, but firm and polite. No one ever heard him raise his voice, but unfortunately, I gave him that opportunity. I did face his wrath one day, for my own lapses, of course. I will narrate an incident here. As a daily routine, at the end of each day, I would update status on various matters to Sir. You see, the flow of accurate information, timely information to the management is essential. And on one such days, I gave him the feedback maybe on some 25 matters at the end of the day, was done with my day and went home, not knowing what was in store for me the next morning. Next morning, as Sir entered the office, he summoned me to his cabin. And for the first time ever, he raised his voice. Everyone was stunned because people outside the cabin, the other employees gathered, wondering what was wrong, what had Kulwant done that she was getting a piece of his mind. I had actually missed updating him on a very, very important matter the previous evening, which could have had a disastrous consequence because you see, the management needs the information to act upon it, to carry out any corrective preventive actions if necessary, and not knowing the development could prove adverse for the organization. I really had it that day. I was pulled up for my lapse, and I also realized my mistake and apologized and actually resolved and assured him that I would never be found lacking, ever, and never give him a chance for a complaint. And I did try my best to live up to my words, to live up to my promise. Through this incident, he reinforced in us the importance of flow of sufficient, accurate, timely information, communication within the department, inter-departments, within the organization, to the management, so that well-informed decisions and corrective actions, if necessary, could be taken in time. And these traits I imbibed in my functioning even more strongly thereafter driving me towards achieving more perfection. In fact, while handling my assigned role in the organization, I was given other opportunities too. As I said, sir never restricted us to only the assigned jobs. He was happy if you could take up additional responsibilities. So he was president of the industry association, and I participated in the teams. Along with the teams, I helped organize the national level seminars, conferences, which gave me a much bigger exposure to the industry, its issues, and so many more, and interacting with so many people, learned men, that the exposure I got was very rich. And this was all possible due to the encouragement from Sir and allowing me to devote a part of my official time towards these extra activities. Not every boss allows you to do this. Fine, all was going well. I was well settled in the organization, and but until one fine day, we got the news that Sir was going to disassociate from this organization. That was really scary. We all became very apprehensive of our future, because till now it was wonderful working with this management and under his leadership. But now we didn't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Are we going to grow in the same manner? Is the functioning going to be similar? How is it going to be in his absence? I started looking out for other openings. I attended interviews. I did get a placement too, at a higher salary, at a higher position too. And the place of work was quite close to my house. Meanwhile, Sir announced that he was going to set up another new venture, another new industry. And he asked me whether I would be interested in coming along with him. What more could I ask for? I would definitely be interested. But he added that the salary and position will be similar to what I was getting at present. And the office that he was going to set up was almost 3 times the longer distance. When I discussed this matter with my family, they insisted I take up the other job, the other opening which was available to me here. And they said, what's there to think? But I was not convinced, because here I was working under a dynamic leader who was giving the opportunities to me to grow. And I would not know what would happen in that organization. There are times when people become stagnant in the organization, however efficient. They're not given the opportunities, their efficiency is not recognized, they're not acknowledged. But that was not the case in our organization. Everything you did, if you did well, it was appreciated. And if there were lapses, as I already narrated, so that was a good thing. In fact, that incident when I got, when I was pulled up for my laps, I treat that incident as a very important turning point in my career, because as a stepping stone, you can say, because I always remind myself, and even when I became a department head later, I had a whole team under me, and I knew what it meant. If my team lapsed and if they did not report to me certain matters, what it would be. So that had opened a whole lot of thinking in and improved my ways of functioning too. Now my dilemma was continuing. What should I do? My family insisting on joining the new job and I wanting to go with him. This all, what happened? I got such severe headaches, migraines within this short span of time, within this 10 days, 15 days. So much so I had to consult a doctor. He sent me for an eye test and I got my vision tested. He said, you needed specs. I got a pair of specs and I started wearing, but no relief to my headaches. They were only getting worse. And I was thinking and rethinking and rethinking. And one fine day, I made up my mind soon enough. I said, I want to go along with Sir. That is where my long-term growth, my future lies. I did not want to entertain the short-term benefits that I was getting elsewhere. So I was now sure this is what I wanted to do. And I told sir, I'm coming along with you to the new organization. And the day I did this, my headaches vanished. I discarded my specs. My mind was clear and my vision was clear. I did not need the specs for next 12 to 13 years. It was the work culture, the environment, the ethical business practices, the learning, the freedom he gave us that we got under his able leadership that made me take this decision. It is often difficult to find such dynamic leaders, and I did not want to lose this opportunity. In face of strong opposition from my family, I went ahead and joined in the new organization and had the privilege of being the first employee of the new organization. The new venture of which I joined, from the ideation to the inception to the commissioning of that project, I had a tremendous exposure as to how to set up an industry, what's to be done, what departments, where all. I mean, it was a whole lot of things, including a public issue that we went through to set up this project. And this was commissioned on dot on the targeted date. It was a massive achievement. It was due to his vision, Sir's vision, Sir's strategies, setting of goals, clear objectives, effective delegation that led to the successful execution of this project, and later several expansions too, and not through micromanagement from his side, but macro management, I must say. He engaged, retained, developed people to get maximum performances. He understood the strength of each employee and assigned suitable tasks and set goals for them, which were clear. I was soon delegated independent charge of the materials department with the required resources. I was a good planner and a negotiator, rather a hard negotiator. So at the time of being given the charge, he set me a goal. He told me to ensure that the factory operations do not stop even for a single day for want of any material. And with that, he gave me a piece of advice. He told me, well, it is good that you are a good negotiator, a hard negotiator, you do well, but keep in mind that it's not good to be penny wise and pound foolish. All the benefits of sailing through hard negotiations and cost cutting, standardization, whatever measures were there, will be wiped out in a single stroke on a single day if the plant is left idle. So ensure that while keeping an eye on the cost, yes, but no material should be lacking and the plant should never stop. That, you know, that kind of directions gave me a whole lot of ideas of how to be planning more precisely, more accurately, and executing to meet all these targets efficiently. He provided the teams with a clear sense of direction, empowering employees to make impactful contributions to the success of the organization. And these contributions by the employees, mind you, were sufficiently and acknowledged, appreciated, recognized, and rewarded, which is very important. Also, he was always accessible to us, which not always you will find MD of an organization being accessible to the department heads or even down the line. He said, if there's any matter which is beyond your decision making or beyond you to resolve, do walk into my cabin and One more thing he said was, yes, when you come to me with the issues, I would suggest that you come with possible solutions too. That was to ignite that spark in our minds, to be creative, to think and come. What solutions can be also, whether it is right or wrong, apt or not apt, was not the concern. It was to make us think. So we went to him with the options. Even if they were not fully right or very apt, he never discouraged us. And on the other hand, he never imposed his own decision on us. He would only very mildly suggest, can it be done this way too? He would just suggest. And I would come back and, ponder over my decisions, his suggestions, my solutions, his solutions, and evaluate them, not blindly follow what he had told. And that is what he wanted. He did not want us to blindly follow what he said. He wanted us to understand it, evaluate it, and then adapt it. And that is what made us, into going into thinking, and that set off at the mind. We can have so many other solutions too. This was these occasional interactions with him and his one-liners acted as a trigger and opened my mind to a whole lot of ideas and options. So my meetings with him actually became lesser and lesser. Once a week, maybe once a fortnight later, once a month later, because even those little few moments we spent with him was so valuable, so worthy of taking you across for another, a month smoothly. That is what his direction giving was. Also, I would like to mention here that he would never intervene or influence. I will specifically talk about the materials department which I was handling. He never tried to influence or intervene in our vendor selection procedure, which was very important. Half the market knew him, half the vendors knew him personally, and they would sometimes ask him to recommend that, for business. But he would say, okay, sir, come please, let us have a cup of tea. And rest all is left to you and my department. If they find merit in your products, fine. That's all I can do for you. So you can imagine no pressure from that side that you need to source from here or there. It was all ethical business practices, transparent, on merit. Never we were pressured under, never we were under pressure to do a certain kind of thing. In fact, it was the total culture of the organization which, most often percolates from top to down, that was motivating. His punctuality, he would be at office in his cabin on dot at 9:30. And I too have been even before that dot, I think, a very, very punctual person. Anyway, so his being on dot on time, very systematic, methodical, brief, and crisp in his directions. His approach to delegation and empowerment of teams to function independently while he oversaw effectively led him to have a paperless office. In those days, when there were no computers, we had whole, tons of files and papers in our department. But his desk was clean because he would just have one slip of paper with some important points jotted down in his pocket, and that's all. He would, I too inculcated that habit, as I said, and whenever I went to him to report matters, I had in my diary a very small list of items to be reported, a very small list, brief, to the point. Within minutes, we were over and done with. It was also possible because of the long association by then and the understanding of each other's mindset and the functioning and the rapport that we had developed over these years. And let me tell you, it was not always work and work and work in the office. No. there were tea and pastry parties, because every other day we had a party in the office celebrating the birthday of one colleague or the other. We were more than 110 people in the office. So you can imagine weekly, do birthday to ho hi jate the. And we all got, the whole office got together to celebrate. And what was important is, Sir always walked down from his cabin personally to wish that particular employee. And that was a tremendous source, I would say, huge morale booster for the employees, because each one, he or she felt that I was important to the organization. I mattered a lot because Sir has personally come to wish me. That was a very important personal touch from him. Fostering such a supportive environment through empathy led to greater employer and employee collaboration and improved productivity. And there was a bonding amongst the employees, the management. It was like a family that is cherished even till today. And importantly, let me tell you, being a lady, there was no gender bias in the office. Today, we hear so much of gender biases, but then that time there was no gender bias. He equally encouraged the lady employees. Equal opportunities were given for growth and acknowledged their abilities and talents. That was what the environment was then. And I will always be immensely grateful from my heart to Sir for having given me these opportunities. It was not just the professional growth. I have grown as a person under him and under his guidance and mentorship. And I would also like to appreciate the cooperation from his family members, who I admire a lot. They are a whole lot of beautiful people, beautiful souls, I must say, all of them. Jain Saab, his elder brother, he was Suresh Saab, Ramesh sir, Kusum ma'am, Maji, every one of them. They are beautiful souls, and I'm lucky that a little bit of that touched me also, and I could experience that. And thank you is a very simple word, but having due to lack of vocabulary, I can only express my gratitude to him by saying a big thank you, and wishing and praying for the wellness of his family and him, and hoping, and I'm looking forward, yes, everyone is looking forward to his continuing to enlighten and motivate people at large. So thank you again. Namaskar. Thank you.